I've never really been a party person. 4 years of college, and I managed to avoid most of the big, chaotic events people always talk about. The kind where entire neighborhoods turn into one giant party. But senior year does something to you. It makes you realize you're running out of chances. So when my friends asked if I wanted to drive down for that massive beach weekend everyone hypes up every year, I said yes without overthinking it. There were 5 of us packed into one car: me, Hunter, Jake, Chris, and Aaron, all of us over 6 feet tall, which made the ride miserable, but we kept ourselves entertained with music and random conversations. By the time we got there Friday evening, the place was already packed. Parking was a nightmare. We circled for almost an hour before Hunter somehow talked his way into getting a spot from a girl who was leaving. None of us questioned it. We just took the win. We were crashing at Hunter's sister's apartment. She was a junior there and had already warned us space would be tight. But honestly, having a floor to sleep on that weekend felt like hitting the lottery. Everything was going smoothly. Until we saw Ethan. I wouldn't exactly call him a friend. He was one of those guys who hovered around different groups, trying to fit in but never really clicking with anyone. Loud, awkward, always trying too hard to be noticed. We knew he might be in town that weekend, but there were no plans to meet up with him. Still, as we were leaving a liquor store that night, there he was, just standing on the curb, watching. No one said anything. We just kept walking, and somehow he ended up walking with us, like he'd always been part of the group. It was off. When we got back to the apartment, things escalated fast. He asked to use the bathroom, and before anyone could really process it, he walked straight inside. When Hunter's sister opened the door, Ethan looked at her and said, "I'm staying here," then just walked past her, like it was already decided. Hunter lost it. He told him straight up, no hesitation, that he wasn't welcome, that he needed to leave, and that lying to get inside crossed a line. Ethan argued for a while, but eventually he left. At least that's what we thought. The next day was exactly what you'd expect: loud, crowded, chaotic in the best way. By late afternoon, things had calmed down, and we ended up back at the apartment with a bigger group, just hanging out. At some point, one of our friends mentioned he still had Ethan's location shared from a while back. Out of curiosity, he checked it, and immediately went quiet. Then he turned his phone toward us. The dot was right on top of us, like right there. As soon as we reacted, it started moving away fast, like someone driving off. We laughed it off at the time. We shouldn't have. That night, I woke up out of nowhere. No reason, just suddenly awake. Then I heard it, glass shattering, loud enough that there was no mistaking it. I sat up, looked around. Everyone else was completely out cold. I grabbed an empty bottle off the floor and walked slowly toward the living room. My heart was pounding. The sliding glass door was completely destroyed. Glass everywhere. A large rock sitting in the middle of the floor. And instantly, I knew. It was him. I turned to go wake the others, then I saw it. The closet door handle. It moved. Just slightly. I froze. Every instinct in my body told me someone was inside. I stepped closer, reached for the handle, and then stopped. Something didn't feel right. Instead, I backed away, went to the bedroom, and woke Hunter up. We went back together. The closet door was now open, empty. "Babe, see," for a second I thought I imagined everything, until Hunter reached inside and pulled something out. A large kitchen knife, just sitting there, ready. I couldn't process it. If I had opened that door alone, I don't know what would have happened. We called the police. They took a report, but nothing really came from it. They told us stuff like this happens during big party weekends all the time. That didn't make it feel any better. We left the next morning. Before we did, Hunter tried to text Ethan. The message didn't go through. Blocked. All of us were. After that, he just disappeared. No one heard from him again. The weirdest part? He was never a violent guy. Annoying, sure, desperate for attention, but not dangerous. At least, that's what we thought. Sometimes I still think about that moment, standing in front of that closet, 1 second away from opening it, and how close I might have come to something I wouldn't have walked away from. My name's Adrian. This happened a long time ago, late 90s, but it's one of those memories that never really fades. Not because of what did happen, but because of what almost did. At the time, I had just finished training and was stationed at a communications unit on a base in West Texas. I was 24, trying to figure out my life, and honestly just glad to be far from where I grew up. Base life got repetitive fast. Same routines, same faces. So when my two closest friends there, Marcus and Lila, suggested a day trip to Austin, I didn't hesitate. Lila drove. She had this old SUV that barely fit the three of us comfortably, but it got the job done. We left in the afternoon, planning to spend the day out and head back that night. About an hour into the drive, we were on a long, quiet stretch of highway. Barely any traffic. That's when Marcus said, "Has that SUV been behind us this whole time?" I turned around. Dark-colored. Big. Sitting at a steady distance. I hadn't noticed it before, but once you see something like that, you keep seeing it. Lila switched lanes. The SUV followed. She waited a minute, then switched again. Same thing. That's when the lights came on. Red and blue. We all kind of relaxed for a second. Undercover, Marcus said. Probably. It made sense. So Lila pulled over. The vehicle stopped behind us, and a man stepped out. That's when things started to feel wrong. He was dressed in all black, tactical-looking gear, but nothing about him clearly identified him as law enforcement. No visible badge. No marked vest, just a patch on his arm that I couldn't make out. But what really stood out was how he acted. He didn't approach the driver's side. Instead, he stayed behind our vehicle, just watching. At first I thought maybe he was calling something in, but no, he was looking through the back window, studying the bags, the inside of the car. Then he stepped closer, looking at the license plate, the bumper. Everything. Marcus cracked his window and called out, "Is there a problem, officer?" The guy didn't answer. He just walked up suddenly to Lila's window and asked for her license and registration. No explanation. No reason. Just straight to it. Lila handed them over, a little hesitant now. The guy went back to his SUV and stayed there for a long time. Too long. We started talking quietly, trying to make sense of it, but none of it added up. Then the driver's door opened again. Except this time, two more men stepped out with him. That's when my chest tightened. This wasn't normal. Not even close. The original guy came back to Lila's window, like nothing was wrong, and asked, almost casually, "Your dad in the military or something?" Lila frowned. "What?" He pointed toward the back of the SUV. "The sticker." She laughed a little. "No, I am." Then she gestured toward us. "We all are." The moment she said that, everything shifted. The man didn't respond right away. His posture changed, subtle but noticeable. He glanced back at the other two men, then back at us. There was this pause, this weird heavy silence. And then, just like that, he handed her license back. "Slow it down," he said flatly. "No ticket. No explanation. Nothing." He turned and walked away. All three of them got back into their vehicle. And before Lila even started the engine, they sped off, fast, gone within seconds. We sat there in silence. Marcus was the first to say it. Those weren't cops. None of us argued. But what could we do? We got back on the road and kept going, tried to shake it off. And for the rest of the day, we actually did. About a week later, Marcus and I were in the common room on base, half watching the local news. That's when the story came on. A couple had been found dead off a highway just outside the area. Robbery. Murder. Their bodies dumped in a ditch. But that's not what got me. It was the vehicle. A dark SUV, reported stolen months earlier. Same model. Same look. I felt this cold wave hit me instantly. Marcus just stared at the screen. Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. We didn't need to. We both knew. We found Lila right after and told her what we saw. All three of us went to report it. Gave every detail we could remember. It never turned into anything we heard back about. No closure. No confirmation. Just that feeling. Even now, years later, I still think about that stop. About how easily it could have gone differently. And how something as small as a sticker on the back of a car might have been the only reason we drove away. I've never been the kind of person who shares personal stories. Honestly, the idea of something like this getting traced back to me has always made me uneasy. But the older I get, the more it feels wrong to keep it buried. So here it is. This happened about a decade ago. I was driving alone from northern New Jersey down to Texas to visit my parents. It had been years since I'd made that trip, and I figured it was time. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I want to say rural Oklahoma, maybe Arkansas, my car started acting up. At first it was subtle. Then it wasn't. I pulled over on a quiet stretch of road with nothing around but open land and trees. No houses. No gas stations. No signal strong enough to rely on. I popped the hood like I knew what I was doing. I didn't. I was stalling. Buying time before admitting I'd probably have to call for help. Something I wasn't even fully set up for. That's when I heard another vehicle pull up behind me. I turned and saw a white pickup. Plain. No front plate that I could see. The driver stepped out. Mid-30s, maybe? Hard to tell. He looked worn down, like life had hit him a little harder than most. Messy beard, rough hands, the kind of guy who looked like he spent most of his time working with tools. He walked up, glanced at the engine and said, "Mind if I take a look?" I didn't hesitate. Looking back, that's the part that bothers me the most. He didn't ask many questions. Just leaned in like he knew exactly what he was doing. Told me he was a mechanic. For a couple minutes, I actually felt relieved. Then he stepped back and said something about needing a specific tool, a compression tester, or the car wasn't going anywhere. I had no idea what that meant, but he sounded confident. He said he might be able to call a friend to bring one out. Then he pulled out his phone, paused, and frowned. "Dead," he said. Then he looked at me. "You mind if I use yours real quick?" I handed it to him without thinking. That was the moment everything changed. He took my phone in one hand, and with the other, he pulled a gun from inside his jacket. There wasn't any shouting, no panic in his voice, just calm, controlled instructions. "Sit down. Don't try anything." So I didn't. I sat there on the side of the road while he went through everything. I had my wallet, my bag, even made me unlock my phone for him. It felt weirdly routine, like he'd done it before. Then he got in his truck and drove off. Just like that. Gone. Eventually, someone else stopped and helped me out. Got my car running well enough to get back on the road and even pointed me in the right direction. I made it to my parents' place later that night. Shaken, angry, but safe. The next few weeks were exactly what you'd expect. Canceling cards, replacing IDs, changing passwords. It was exhausting, but manageable. Or so I thought. About 6 months later, things started unraveling again. It began with a letter. Some bank thanking me for opening an account I didn't recognize. I brushed it off. Then another one came, and another. Credit cards, purchases, charges from states I hadn't been anywhere near. That's when it hit me. My social security card had been in my wallet. Whoever robbed me didn't just take my stuff. He took my identity. What followed was easily one of the most stressful periods of my life. My credit report was a disaster. Accounts I didn't open, debt I didn't create, records that didn't belong to me. I filed reports, froze my credit, contacted every agency I could think of. It felt like trying to stop a leak that kept finding new ways through. Then it got worse. I got a call from my insurance provider. Someone had received medical treatment under my name. That's when it stopped being just financial. Now it was personal, permanent. At that point, I stopped waiting for things to fix themselves. I started digging, tracking, watching for patterns. Every city tied to fraudulent activity, I noted it. Every charge, I mapped it. I checked listings, forums, resale sites, anything that might connect the dots. Then one night, I found something. A listing for used tools in a small Tennessee town. It shouldn't have meant anything, but it did. The items matched purchases made with one of the fraudulent accounts in my name, too perfectly to ignore. I reached out, played it casual, asked if the items were still available. The seller responded. We went back and forth until he agreed to meet. That's when I handed everything over to local police. I wasn't about to confront anyone myself. The next day, they set it up. From what I was told, the moment the seller noticed police nearby, he panicked and took off. Didn't even try to act normal. That was enough. They followed him. He ended up crashing not long after. Nothing major, but enough to give them a reason to step in. And once they started asking questions, he broke. Fast. He wasn't the guy who robbed me, but he knew who was, and that was enough. In the end, it wasn't just one person. There were three of them, working together, targeting people on isolated roads across multiple states. I wasn't the first, and I wouldn't have been the last. They were eventually caught, charged, put away, and just like that, it was over. But even now, I think about how easily it all started. A quiet road, a broken down car, a stranger offering help, and one small decision that let someone else step into my life like it was theirs.